Welcome to another GameFi Paradigm session. I am Usurper, and today's guest is Foxen on the topic of Greyhounds for Muzzle Run. All right, now we will be jumping into the common dogs first, and then take it away, Foxen.
All right. So Archie is OG 87 speeder. His secondary stats don't make him really able to perform at the 87 speed level against other OG 87 speeders, as well as any of the Brendels or spotty 87 speed stars. So he kind of becomes irrelevant. Archie, in my opinion, is one that is a reroll every single time. And he's also a burn dog if you land on him because he's not going to really perform on the track, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Luis.
Louis is going to be a similar vein. Reroll. If you land him on the reroll, he's a burn token for a training credit. Not going to have the guff to perform at the 89 speed mark. There's just too many better 89 speed OGs, including some rares. And there's also a lot more higher quality spotty and Brendel 89 speeders that will just dominate him on the 89 speed track. His stats are too high to be an effective best of the worst on the occasional best of the worst race. So he's a burn / reroll.
Okay. Charlotte.
Charlotte, same situation. She's one of those 87 speedsters that didn't get maximum speeds in your acceleration and endurance categories. Not going to perform at the 87 point, not going to perform at the best of the worst point. She's one of those limbo dogs, just like Archie. She's a reroller burner.
Okay. Allan.
Allan's one of those ones where on the very rare occasion you would have a speed limited best of the worst. He could do well. He's actually won open grade best of the worsts for me before. The additional 2 points in speed don't necessarily hurt him too bad because he has the lowest of acceleration, the lowest of endurance, and the lowest 92 possible. Allan would be a stud in a best of the worst 89 speed. And he is able to hang an open grade. So while he is a reroll, if you do manage to land on him in the reroll, I would recommend keeping at least 1 or 2 Allans, try them out and see which one's the worst, because they could actually win you some froth in a best of the worst field.
Okay. Henry.
Henry, 87er. He's got capped out endurance, mid-tier consistency, and the lowest of acceleration. He's a lot like your Archies and your Charlottes. You're not going to get a lot of performance out of a Henry on the best of the worst because of the endurance and that mid-grade consistency. Having that high endurance means if you catch a stair or a marathon track, your endo is going to come into play, and you're going to win those races and in a sense lose those races. So he's not going to really be a good best of the worst performer because of his endurance. I would recommend a reroll on the Henrys and burn him if you land on him and keep him.
Grace.
Grace is a different story. She's an OG 89 speeder, and she's one of the better performing 89 speed OG hounds. She's got 95 acceleration, 92 endurance, 96 consistency. So she's just 1 step down. Well, she's 2 steps down in speed because speed caps out at 96, obviously, from at the Brooks. But she's a good 89er. If you land on her on the reroll, you could keep her for 89 open grade performance. Now, if it's going to have a lot of the spotties in there or some of the rare 89s, if it's commons only and no spotties, then she's one to contend with. If it is rare, then there are better 89 speed OG rares, and there's also better 89 speed spotty rares. So she's one of those ones where if you don't have other 89s, you can hang on to her. I wouldn't necessarily keep her on an initial pull. She's a reroll for me. But if I were to land on her, if I was building up my kennel and I didn't have a good 89 speed option yet to fall back on or a pair of them, she would make do in a pinch and potentially win you some froth in an 89 restricted race.
Yeah, I think I have one Grace actually. Okay. Charles.
Charles is one of those burners, re-rollers out of the cuff. He's one of those ones that's not going to perform at the high end of an 87 speed restricted. He's not going to perform in standard G4s. His endurance is what holds him back as well from losing in the best of the worst side of things. So he's a burner if you end up landing on him in a reroll, trying to get something better if you land on him on the initial pull.
Okay. Eleanor.
Eleanor, now I've had some Eleanors do okay for me in best of the worst, in a pinch when I didn't have something better to put in, but she's not going to be a big winner. You can land something better. She's a decent mid-tier 87 speeder. So if you don't have an 87 speed runner for 87 limited, you can try to put an Eleanor in there. Now the odds of her winning it, maybe 1 out of every 40 to 50 races will she come out on top. So I would personally re-roll and burn Eleanor's because I have better options at the 87 speed. Yeah, I'd recommend burning her, honestly. Yeah.
Okay. Philip.
Philip, 92, 93, 87, 96. So he's one of those weird ones. I've had a Philip win me froth before, Womatic at the time, but it was in an 87 endurance restricted race. It was a streamer hosted race. Those are extremely uncommon, but he actually has decent stats outside of that. I re-roll Phillips personally, and if I land on one, they're not my first go-to on a burn because they can be trained. They're not going to really get a whole lot out of it. You'd have to have some very specific races, but I don't know if Ross is still hosting races, but when Ross hosts races, he'll do some wacky combinations of restrictions on just one stat other than speed. And in races like that, if you get an endurance restricted race, Philip's actually a runner and he can do big things.
Oh,
I'd recommend a re-roll on a Philip, and if you land on him, hang on to him if you don't have other options already in that category, because he could perform.
I forgot to mention from all the dogs before Philip and even himself. Would you train any of them?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Kingston.
Kingston, similar vein as Philip, just a little bit worse because he's an 89 speed, lower consistency. One of those mid-tier 89s. I re-roll Kingstons, and if I land on one, I'll burn them because they're really not going to do a whole lot unless you get like a heavy sprint race or something like that. It'd have to be a heavy sprints 89 speed restricted sit and go in order to do something with a Kingston, and that's just too rare of a combination to rely on him as an 89 speed runner.
Anna.
Now, Anna's an 89er that I don't mind. She's very similar to a Philip, just in the 89 variety. She can sprint. She's okay. I would re-roll an Anna on the initial pull. If I landed on an Anna and there was something 89 speed coming up, like an 89 speed sprinter mid tournament, she could do good things in those. She's got decent consistency. So I would re-roll her on the initial pull. If I didn't have other 89s to fall back on for a race in that category, I would keep her. And there's other 89s we'll cover that when you get a pair, a good running pair of those 89s, you could then replace dogs like Anna and then use them as a burn token if they weren't, a winning horse or winning dog that had sentimental value.
Odin.
Odin, He's one of those 87 speeders where if you're doing an 87 speed common, maybe 1 out of 12, you'll see an Odin in the finals. So they can get there, but there's a lot better 87 speeds in the game than the Odins. I re-roll them when I get them. I kept one just because it's got a cool name, but it never races. So it's one that I would recommend re-rolling, and if you're just caring about performance, go ahead and burn it for that training credit,
Okay.
that utility credit.
Ooh, where am I? Okay. I think that's what's a Merida.
Merida. Merida's a 92 speed, low endurance. So this is kind of anytime you see a 92 speed, you're no longer really thinking isolating to an 89 or an 87 limited speed race. You're thinking performance in G4 Open. So G4 Open is commons, untrained, 92 speed, and under whatever the number is in earnings now in dollars. It used to be in Matic, but I think it was 500 Matic or whatever it was at the time. But you want to, anytime you have a 92 speed pull, you need to take into consideration that where that dog is going to compete is in just G4s. And Merida is one that unfortunately is not going to do a whole lot in G4s. It's one of those ones that would need to specifically catch a heavy sprint based G4 tournament to where, just the luck of the draw roll was everything was short distances because she has that high acceleration, but that super low endurance means that if she catches anything with a lot of stays and marathon races or even some of the longer mids, she's not going to be able to hang with at least a dozen or more other G4 competitive breeds. So when I pull a Merida, I personally re-roll because she can't fit that one function and she can't fit into the other restricted grade racings to make her a valuable asset. So she's a re-roll burn credit. But that's what to consider when you get these 92 speed pulls.
And you wouldn't train her?
I would not.
Okay. No. Okay. What are we looking at here? William,
he's a good mid-tier 89 speeder. If you don't already have 89 runners, you can hang on to a William until he gets replaced. Re-roll him if you pull him on the initial pull. Don't train. And once you have better 89s, I would burn. But this is the first 89 that we've came to that's like, okay, Williams can hang because he can hang. He's got the second best acceleration, the second best endurance, and the second best consistency. So it gives him a good spread of just above average performance to where he can do well with just about any set of variables of 89 restricted racing, to where in any sit and go, he's got a shot of having his day. Whereas other hounds that we've talked about, it's more 1 in every 10, 1 in every 12. With William, it's every 3, 4. If you're doing just common 89 speed, a William can hang.
and this is if and I guess the same thing when you were talking about Merida, if they're not racing against bodies, right? If it's just straight OG.
Yes and no.
Oh, okay.
They'd be able to hang. So there's all kinds of variables. There's a lot of hype around spotty fever. Everybody says spotties is overpowered, and in certain ways, yes, they are higher performing on average than your OG hounds. There's still many tournaments where it's open grade that an OG will win, and they've even hosted OG versus spotty S&Gs where an OG will win quite often. It'll happen a lot. Now, race to race on average, the spotties perform better, but the OGs are still just as relevant. So don't just immediately discredit from being able to hang with spotties because it can. It's just going to be less often.
Okay, but William, you would keep.
I would hang on to a William until he could be replaced with higher quality 89s that fit his criteria of races.
Okay.
Early kennels keep, established kennels reroll burn.
Is it safe to say that 87s and 89s are not worth training then, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
just to make
there
sure.
are other subgrade stats. Once you train them, so in 89, you would have to put all of your rolls into in order to get to 100, and then you'd have nothing left over. Well, you'd have to put 4 of
Yeah.
your 5 rolls, mathematically. So 4 out of 5 rolls, sacrificing 2 points, because 3 per roll, that'd be 12, or so you'd be sacrificing 1 to hit 11 to hit that 100 on speed.
Mm-hmm.
And that would leave you with 1 more roll. Where do you put it? Endurance? Because then what's a
Yeah.
193, 97, 94 going to do? Not a whole lot. So that's when you take into consideration, once you train it, it's no longer able to compete in G4s. So it's now only able to compete in open field competition, G3 and higher. So is it, with training, going to be able to compete with VR and ER hounds with training in the same open field competition? Because you can't only race against trained commons. That's a very particular race structure, trained commons. So you have to take that into consideration. Is once you invest 1 training credit, this is now G3 and above. And can it hang with all G3 competition? Can this hang with a fully trained Michael? Can it hang with a fully trained, Jasper, Avicii, anything? Anything that's got a higher baseline stat line is going to have a better shot at winning over a trained William.
Okay, let me see. Oh, Duncan.
Duncan, he's one of those 92s on the lower end, falls in that same mid tier. I would re-roll and then burn. We're going to get to the juicier ones down the bottom, not worth training, yeah.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of these at the higher end of this list here, because as they filter down, they'll get higher to the better quality keepers within the grade. And then obviously as we switch over to the rares, there'll be a lot more discussions on some of those.
Wow. Okay.
Nicholas, we got a 92 speeder, low acceleration, low endurance, and it's got the low consistency. This one is a reroll, and pray you don't pull him a second time because he goes right to the burn pile.
Okay, so no train, right?
No train.
Okay. All right, who we got next? Esmeralda.
Esmeralda. So she's another one that's one of those like mid-tier G4 runners. Like she's one that you could put into G4 racing, and if she's racing on her conditions, she can actually win some G4 races. There are better G4 runners that we'll get to in this list, and obviously the Spotties and Brindles that we covered. But in this list, there are some higher quality G4 runners that will on average beat her, but she's beaten any of the other OG G4 racers in this list in races. So she's kind of that first tier where like, hey, I actually pulled a dog that I can race in some G4 running. So I wouldn't keep her on the initial pull, but on a reroll, I wouldn't burn her initially because she could actually be a quality bred Esmeralda that could do some damage on the G4 tracks.
And train?
No, because once you train there, she's no longer G4. So I would keep her G4 training until she earns her money, and it's not worth training once she caps out. She's got 92 speed, which is second best speed, 93 acceleration, which is second best acceleration, 92 endurance, which is second best endurance, and 94 consistency, which is second best consistency. So she's second best across the board. If you factor in the number of points it would take to make her to the relevant level of competition, it would be short of the higher grade dogs, so she just wouldn't perform as a trained Esmeralda.
Okay. All right. Alberta.
Alberta, now we're talking. Alberta is the first dog that we came to today that I can definitively say I personally have and would keep. And I have chose not to re-roll Alberta's in the past. I've re-rolled Alberta's as well. I've pulled a lot of dogs in my time. But I have also intentionally kept an Alberta because she is one of the top 3, in my opinion, OG G4 racers. Her only down ticks are in speed, which all G4 racers are 92 speed or below. So she's at the highest you could be in G4 running. But her down ticks are in speed and endurance. She has the highest acceleration, the highest consistency, and the second highest endurance. So this is, we'll cover her later, but this is the 92 speed version of a Trinity. Or not a Trinity, a Clark, sorry. Clark. So this is a 92 speed version of a Clark, which is the fawn version of Trinity. And once you'll see, we'll discuss Clark a little bit more when we get to him, but his stats make him a very ideal 92 speed, or not 92 speed, a 97 speed racer because of the way his stats kind of line up. And we'll cover all that when we get to him. But the same thing applies to Alberta. She has really, really good consistency, really, really good acceleration. So anything on the short end, she's going to be good at, and consistency means she's just going to, on average, perform better race to race. So when it comes to sit and goes, when it comes to G4 sit and goes, Albertas have won many. This is, in my opinion, a keeper on the first pull because she's in the top 3 of the common tier for G4 running. OGs. The odds of you pulling a rare that would be better in the rare tier is slim. You'd have to pull something solid. This is
she's just below rare, you said?
She's just below a rare statistically. But the thing is, she's in the top 3 OG G4 racers. So when you think about the number of rare and above pulls there are, even if you were to upgrade to a rare, the odds of it being a top 3 rare are slim. You'd have to be pulling a Brooks, a Trinity, a Gordon, maybe there's very few high-end rares at the caliber of an Alberta, is in the common tier because of where she sits in the common tier hierarchy. She is the highest statted OG in the game for commons. There's not another common with an overall as high as Alberta.
I think I recently pulled about 2 of her, 2 Alberta. So, okay,
she's solid on the tracks and worth keeping.
Would you train her?
No, because then she no longer, like, you can train her if you wanted to, because you could get her to 195, 98, 96.
Oh, okay.
Which could be really good, but that would require perfect training. You'd have to 3-2-3 speed and then 3-3 endurance to get 195, 98, 96. And then it'd be something. Yeah. In like a trained common application, absolutely.
What trained common? Okay. Just in case, because I know you said there's a cap once they reach, 1,000 something, right? Matic or 1,000 USD win.
Something like that.
Yeah. So trained commons. Okay. Because there has been some trained commons that have been coming out recently, so good to know on that. Okay. Anthony,
he's a lower tier 89 speed. I would personally re-roll and burn an Anthony.
Okay. Steven.
Now, Steven is one that if you pull him initially, I would probably personally re-roll him. If you don't have quality 87 speeders and you're a new kennel, I would personally recommend keeping a Steven just to have one, because he's probably a top 3 OG 87 speeder and arguably probably even top 2 of the non-spotty, non-brindle 87 speed common racers. He's one of the best. So if you don't have 87s already, keep you a Steven. If you land one on a reroll, I would keep him instead of burning him because he could be an 87 speed performer for any 87 speed restricted competitions. Yeah, and I wouldn't train him.
Okay. Let me see here. Roger.
Roger, another one of those lower tier 89ers. He's got the lowest possible acceleration and the lowest possible endurance. So he's one of those ones where I re-roll and then burn. No train.
Okay. Hannah.
Hannah. So Hannah's got the low in the low acceleration and the second lowest endurance and the lowest consistency. I would personally re-roll and burn Hannah's. Not a whole lot of functionality for him.
Where are we at? Oh, we got Gwen.
Gwen, another one of those ones that's an 87er, like your Stevens. If you don't have an 87 speeder, Gwen's a good keeper because she can perform in the 87 grade restricted field, and that's against Spotties and Brindles too. Yeah, she's a good 87 speed runner. So if you're a newer kennel and you don't have a good 87 yet and you land a Gwen, I'd personally recommend keeping her because you could do worse. If there's active 87 speed races, she's worth hanging on to and learning. Don't train her because then she's no longer an 87 speeder. And you'd have to put a lot into just getting your speed up. I think you'd have to put every point in. So,
yeah, safe to say
keep her on.
Never train 87s and 89s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's some exceptions to the rule.
Oh, if it comes up, can you let me know which ones are the exceptions of these?
They'll be in the rare category that the
okay.
89s are trainable.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let me know when we get there. Okay. Richard.
Richard, all right, little Dick here is he's okay. He's got good endurance and good consistency. His acceleration is on the low end, but that just means that in any of the distance-based races, he's actually a stud on the track. I'd put him probably like top 10 on the 87 speed list. So I would re-roll him. He's not one I would so much so as keep on the first pull, even if I was a newer kennel. But if you land on him and you don't have good 87s, hang on to him. Otherwise, I'd burn him.
Okay. Patrick.
Patrick, you got yourself another G4 mid-tier capable racer. One of those ones where Patrick can win maybe 1 in every 9 G4 something or another's, depending on, if they're lower. Like he's just an average overall, like mids. He'd be like a mid-stayer racer. Not going to really be great at everything. He's just got those watered down stats: second best speed, second best acceleration, second best endurance, and then lowest consistency. So he's one of those mid tier where I would not keep a Patrick on the first pull because he's not going to consistently make money in G4. But if you land on him, I might give him a shot on the track, see if I can learn him a little bit because he might be able to make a little bit of money. He may not ever cap out, but he could make you some money as a G4 racer before you send him to the burn pile.
And then no train on this?
No train.
Okay. Okay, Elsa.
All right, Elsa, we've got ourselves a G4 worth keeping if you don't have G4s. This is almost Alberta tier. So she has maxed out acceleration, second best endurance, a second best consistency, and the best speed. So she's one of those ones where if you don't already have a G4 runner and you're ripping 5 packs, she could be worth keeping on the initial pull if you're a new kennel. Now, if you get her on a reroll, I'd test her legs and see how she races because an Elsa, she could win in some G4s. and no
Okay.
training.
No. Oh, okay. Yeah. No training. All right.
Reason on her is you have two 92 speed stats, and both would require a 323 to max, so
Oh.
there's no way to hundo.
Yeah. Okay. Oh. Blanche.
Blanche, now, she's one of those mid-tier 89ers. She could do some things on the 89 speed restricted side of the house, but it's not going to be a lot of the time because she's got those second best kind of stats. She's a reroll on the initial pull. If you land on her, you can try her out if you're a newer kennel, but if you're an established kennel, you're probably going to just go ahead and burn a Blanche.
Okay. Leopold.
Leopold. So Leopold is one of my personal sleeper favorites when it comes to G4. Leopold is like the black gray version of Alberta. So he just has lower consistency. So the blue gray version of Alberta is Elsa. She just has the 2 points lower, and he's got 4 points lower of consistency than Alberta. But he's like the black gray version of Alberta. And he can race. I like him. I hang on to Leopolds if I land on him. Now, I don't always keep him on the first pull, but if you're hunting for your first G4 racer, Leopold could actually win you some money on the track.
Oh, this is a side note or a side question here, but I did see that there was a Leopold that I wanted to maybe get as a what is it, the Old Boys Cup? Do you think he would have a
Very
chance?
smart investment. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in the Old Boys Cup, the top three are, well, okay, so there's 6 dogs that are the common G4 variants of each coat, right? Leopold, Elsa, and Alberta are like the balanced peak stats of their coat category. And then you have the endurance versions. So there's other dogs like Alfred, which we're going to be getting to here in just a little bit. And he actually has lower acceleration, higher endurance. And some folks like that style of runner. But that version in the coat that dips down on the acceleration to account for higher endo. And then these versions, those are the highest 6 OG variants in the game. And those are the 6, like those are the top 6 or the peak 6 G4 racers to hunt for. So Leopold's part of those 6. He's just the black gray coat variant of the balanced tier.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into getting him then. Let me see. Next one, Adela.
So Adela is one of those ones where I personally don't hold on to them because their endurance is too low. They can't really be trained because you don't have enough training points to invest in both speed and endurance. And they're not going to perform in an open grade G4 competition because any distance tracks, they're going to fall to the back of the pack and not collect points in those races. So they're just not going to make the finals. So they're not going to actually end up earning you money.
Oh, I forgot to ask. For Leopold, would you train it?
No.
Okay.
No, he's one you want to keep untrained until you cap him out. And then once he caps out, he's probably not going to make you much money in open grade if you invest in training him, even if you train him perfectly.
Violet.
Violet, low grade acceleration and endurance on her. She's a reroll and a burn credit if you land on her.
Okay. All right, Regan.
Regan, she's one of those ones who actually can bang in the 89 speed restricted races. I wouldn't keep a Regan on an initial pull. Don't train a Regan. But if you land on a Regan on a reroll She's worth hanging on to and attempting to win some 89 speed races.
Okay. Ariel.
Ariel, she's a burn credit, reroll burn credit, don't train. If she had a little bit more acceleration, you might be able to justify keeping her, but because she's got the second tier acceleration and the bottom tier endurance, she's just not going to have enough races that go her way to make finals consistently. Yeah, there'll be better options than an Ariel out there, unless you're just adding her to a collection to try to get them all. She's a burn token.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Alfred.
Now we got ourselves another big one here. So Alfred is arguably the top OG G4 racer. Reason being is he has the top speed of G4 of 92 and the best untrained endurance outside of the Spotties. The Spotties have 97, Alfred has 96.
Oh,
96 is the highest it could be for an OG. So he's able to compete in those longer distance races, and acceleration only accounts for the time that you leave the gate. So sprints are going to be affected, but not as severely as you'd think.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred can actually still win sprints. I wouldn't train an Alfred unless there was a trained Alfred event coming up.
Oh, okay.
But he's actually one that I would recommend keeping and not re-rolling. He's one of those high-end like the Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're just hunting for a specific rare and just willing to burn everything, keep an Alfred every time because he's one that can absolutely win G4 races. A lot of the times, you'll see Alfreds making the finals. They don't always win, but in a G4, you'll almost always see at least one Alfred make the finals. So he's a keeper in my books.
Yeah, I think I pulled like one or two of them recently. Okay, let's see. Oh, Thomas.
Thomas, he's one of those mid-tier 87ers, in my opinion. Burn reroll. Just has the low endurance on top of the low speed, and it just doesn't make for a very good performing hound.
Okay. Hollie.
Now, Hollie is the blue-gray version of Alfred. This is another one that I personally keep Hollies when I pull them. I don't re-roll a Hollie. Some people will, but Hollie's another one of those dominant G4 racers when left untrained that can win any day of the week. In my opinion, the second best OG racer is Hollie, just behind Alfred.
So it's Alfred, Hollie, and then Alberta, you said?
I would put Alfred, Hollie, Alberta, and then maybe the Leopold.
Not Shebah?
I'm not a Shebah fan.
Okay. Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. Would you train Hollie?
The only thing I like Shebah for is the OGs, because OGs doesn't restrict it to commons. Doesn't restrict the commons to G4s, so 97 speed is allowed. Shebah's useless in racer variety because she has 97 speed, which means you would have to train her because she's automatically disqualified from commons or from G4.
Yeah.
And because all of her subgrades are so low, we'll get to her. Yeah. But Hollie's a keeper. Don't train her.
Don't train
Win
her.
a bunch of money in G4s with her.
Okay. Kevin.
Kevin, you've reached the top 87 speed common in the game. If you're hunting for 87s or you're building an army of 87s to try to compete in or win 87 speed restricted races, Kevin is the guy to go to. Keep him on the first pull if that's what you're hunting for. If not, you can re-roll him. Chances of upgrading probably pretty low, because even if you get a rare, the odds of it being the best rare in the game are nil. So
Okay, yeah. Let me know when we get to the rares and rares. which one or the best of the 89s and 87s when we get there.
Okay.
Let me see. What are we at now? Okay, Chanel.
Chanel, she's mid-tier 87er. Reroll. If you land her on the reroll, you can try her in some 87 speed restricted races. She's not going to win very often. Probably going to eventually become a burn credit for you, but might win you some money before that.
Okay. All right. Yvette.
Yvette, similar vein in the 89 speed. It's so Miss Yvette here, 89 speed. She's okay. She's not great. If you land on her off of the reroll, she's worth testing her legs in the 89 speed, but there's enough 89 speeds that have 96 endurance, 94 consistency or better, and have better acceleration than her. So I wouldn't jump straight to a burn credit because she could actually win some money as an 89er, but she will most likely end up in the burn pile for most kennels.
Okay. John.
John, he's one of those ones that's hit or miss when it comes to G4 performance because of the 87 endurance. I would reroll a John on the initial pull. If you land on a John on a reroll, the odds of him winning open grade G4 competition or open G4s, like against dogs that have way more endurance, pretty low that he's going to come out on top. He's basically like if you flip flop an Alfred, if you were to change the acceleration and endurance on an Alfred, it'd become a John. And acceleration is just too ineffective of a stat in comparison to endurance to compete in open grade G4s. It'd have to be an 87 endurance limited G4 common in order for him to compete. So in my opinion, he's a reroll, and I would burn him.
Okay. Kyle.
Kyle's a pretty solid 87er. If you're collecting 87s, he's worth hanging on to. He is the black gray version of Kevin. So he's the top black gray 87 speed with the best acceleration and the best endurance. If you're not hunting 87s, you can comfortably re-roll a Kyle on the first pull. Now odds of pulling a better in grade, so a better rare, meaning like a top 3 rare, because he's a top 3 87 speed OG hound. It's him, Kevin, and Steven. They're the big 3 when it comes to the OG hounds. So he's a top 3 87er in the OGs. So I would hang on to him instead of putting him in the burn pile because he can win money in restricted 87 speed racing.
Okay. Natalie.
Natalie or Natalia. She's a reroll all day because she's got that 92 speed, which means she's going to be a G4 racer, but has the bottom acceleration and the bottom endurance. She just doesn't have any shot of making it to a finals of winning you money.
So burn and no train.
Burn, no train. Yeah.
Okay. Glenn.
Glenn, he's a decent 89er. You're dealing with the same thing, your high acceleration, low endurance situation that you're dealing with John and a few others we've discussed. Can do okay, but the odds of a Glenn winning an 89 restricted pretty low, and you'll understand why once we get to the rares, because most of the time they don't restrict it to 89 speed commons. But even in 89 speed commons, there are some better 89 speed commons out there than a Glen. I would burn, no train. Yeah.
Alexia, right?
Alexia, if you're Hunting for best of the worst, she's actually a pretty good one. So that's the only real application for an Alexia is a best of the worst field. So if you're trying to collect best of the worst, don't keep her on a first pull. But if you get her on a reroll and you want something for a best of the worst competition, Alexia is a good one to have. Don't train, just try to win some money in those specialized races, and yeah.
Yeah, I think my best one, or yeah, I think my best best of the worst is an Alexia. Let's see. Diana.
Diana's actually a pretty good 89 speeder. Wouldn't keep her on a first pull. But a landed re-rolled Diana, I would hang on to and try to race in some 89 speed restricted. Not worth training because you'd have to put 4 rolls to get your speed to 100, leaving only 1 roll for endurance. So the best you could have is 195, 95, 94.
Okay. Robert.
Robert's one of those ones where I would re-roll anytime I got one. But if you got him on the re-roll, he's worth adding to the 87 speed army. He's got the best acceleration, the best consistency, and the second best endurance that you can have. So, because of that, he's just under Kevin on the totem pole in the Fawns category, which means he's just under the big 3 in the OGs because Fawns have the highest consistency. So any of the other big 3 that are also at the 92 endurance point in the blue grays and the black grays are also going to have less consistency than a Robert. So he's like the best of the next tier below the best tier of 87s, if that makes sense.
What are we looking at? Oh, here you go. Shebah.
Miss Shebah, as a pulled racer, in my opinion, is as useless as tits on a boar. She has 97 speed, which immediately disqualifies her from racing the only place common should be racing, and that's G4. Because she has 97 speed out of the gate, and the lowest other stats you can possibly have for an OG. She has got the lowest acceleration, the lowest endurance, and the lowest consistency. She just happens to have the highest untrained speed possible, which means if you rolled a perfect 3 when you trained her, you can then invest 4 more training points into endurance, which means the best you can hope to get is 188, 99, 92, which is not going to do a whole lot in open grade performance. So she's not useful for training. She's not useful for G4 racing. She has no real purpose outside of Old Boys Cup. The breeder version of Shebah is a monster because all of the other breeders, which all breeders are OGs, but of all of the OG breeders, she's the only one that has 97 speed. The most any other breed in the Old Boys Cup has 92. Because of that, on any of the Old Boys Cups that are lower end, like mids, shorter sprints, like ones where she doesn't have to rely on endurance, even though she doesn't have good acceleration, her speed will carry her through and she'll win a good portion of races in the Old Boys Cup just because she's the only one with 97 speed kicking it.
So just good for breeding
a racer?
From?
Yeah, not for breeding from. Just good for racing.
The Old Boys Cup.
She's good for breeding from if you're trying to pull like spotties. Or pull brindles. But
breeding.
There's better out there.
And then you said brindles. Okay. All right. Ivy.
Ivy, this is a definite reroll, definite burn pile. She's 89 speed, the lowest acceleration, lowest endurance that you can have. So definitely not a keeper. Don't train.
Okay. Sadie.
Sadie, she's one of those ones that's hit or miss because she's got the 96 endurance and 96 consistency, 89 speed, 88 acceleration, which means in a 89 speed restricted setting, Sadie could do okay, but definitely not a keeper on the initial pull. Don't train. Most people will likely want to burn a Sadie because there are enough better options that it doesn't justify keeping her. But she could perform if you didn't have another option.
Okay. Christian.
Tristian, he's one of those 87ers that's not going to put up a big fight. There's too many others. We've named through at least 5 87 speeders that are better than Tristian already in the list. So when you're already taking into consideration the lower tier racing style of a restricted 87 speed, him being as low on the 87 speed totem pole as he is, he's already in the bottomest pool you could be in racing at a restricted rate. He also has really low endurance, which is that's just a no-go when it comes to these limited stat races. He's a burn every day of the week. Reroll burn, no train.
Okay. Sue.
Sue's actually an interesting 87 speeder. Definitely a reroll on the initial pull, but if you land a Sue on the reroll, she's actually not bad. Now this is the one step under the what was
Kyle?
his name? No, not Kyle. He's one step under. She's one step under the.
Steven? Oh no. That's not.
No, it's not Steven. I'm spacing on his name right now. We were just talking about him. Robert.
Oh, okay.
This is the blue-gray version of Robert. So it has 2 consistency below Robert. So where Robert was the best of the tier just below the top 87s, she is the second in consistency of that tier, just below Robert.
So she could be worth holding on to?
Not on the initial pull, but on a reroll, she's an 87 worth hanging on to.
Okay.
Don't train. Yeah, no training on her.
Edward.
Edward, yeah, he's another trash reroll burn pile, too low on the acceleration, endurance being second tier. He's not going to put up the fight in the 89s. We just saw a couple 89s that were better to keep and hang on to than an Edward. So, yeah, Edward's a reroll burn.
Jonathan.
Jonathan, similar vein, low acceleration. He's got good endurance. So Jonathan is like the tier below. Think like your Alfreds or your Hollies, but the black gray 89 version of them. So while you can get the distance down, he's not going to have the acceleration. So I personally would reroll on this one and burn. I've burned plenty of Jonathan in my day. No train.
Zayne.
Zayne, same thing. Got the low endurance, not worth hanging on to. He has mid-tier acceleration, mid-tier consistency, and the lowest endurance, and that makes him just not going to be an 87 speed performer. He's a burn credit.
Tristian.
Tristian, kind of the same thing. Tristian's can win. A few of them made it through, I think, in the 87 speed streamer war that they had. That was a heavy 87 speed month. But out of the hundreds of races that ran, I think only one Tristian made it through. So Not a big performer when it comes to 87 speed restricted because of that endurance. I would say burn credit.
Okay. I feel like we already did this one. Am I losing my
We
mind?
didn't. We did
Amelia?
Alexia.
Oh,
We did
okay.
Alexia. Amelia is
Amelia.
actually the worst of the worst. There's not another dog with lower stats than Amelia in the game. So Amelias are worth hanging on to if you get them from a lower end breeder and you want to pull for best of or like the worst of the worst races. So or best of the worst races or whatever you want to call them. But she has the lowest stats in the game, so she's worth leaving untrained. And if you have multiples, she's worth even training if they have a trained worst of the worst or best of
Oh,
the
wow.
worst or whatever. Because if you rolled all ones, that 5 extra points would make her then the lowest possible trained hound in the game. So she's only worth training to try to get all ones. You would want to have reverse training and get the lowest possible training in history in order to have the best trained, best of the worst dog available. But yeah,
That's
outside of
amazing.
that, that's really the only place she's going to win
Okay.
by losing.
All right. Emma.
Emma, she's a so-so 87er, same kind of state where she's got the high acceleration, but she's going to have terrible endurance, which means she's not going to perform with your big three, the Kevins. She's not going to perform with the spotty 87s. You know, she's just not going to hang. I would recommend reroll and burn credit.
Okay. Royce.
Now, Royce, I call him Rolls Royce. He's actually a decent 87er. He's a quality 87 speed. He's only one tick down in acceleration from Kevin. So he's going to be a really solid pick. This would be your tier above Robert and below Kevin for the best possible like range. Like it's just one notch of acceleration in between the two. So he's worth keeping on a reroll. I wouldn't keep him on the first roll, but if you land one on a reroll, keep your Royces because Royce can bang in 87 restricted racing.
Alrighty. Paulina.
Miss Paulina is unfortunately a burn token because she has that 92 speed, which locks her into G4 racing, but that 87 endurance is going to mean she's not going to really win much. So she's not going to get you a whole lot of returns. It's just worth getting the utility credit for.
Okay. Edmund.
Edmund, kind of the same place. He's got that mid-tier endurance, but he's got the lowest end acceleration. And as a G4 racer, that double whammy just means he's not going to put up on the track. He's not going to win consistently enough to be entering him in stuff. So he is a reroll, no train, burn token.
Juno.
Juno what? Juno's actually put up on the track before in the 87 restricted races, but she's not a consistent winner because the mid-tier endurance and the lowest end acceleration. Her consistency does carry her through being a fawn, but she's what I would consider the best average tier 87 speed racer. Meaning, of the average 87 speeders, she's the one that will squeak through to a final the most. But there are enough 87s that I personally would burn a Juno. But if you're a newer kennel getting started, she may be worth hanging on to until you get your hands on one of them Stevens or Kyles or Kevins to replace her.
Cecilia.
Cecilia is one of those mid-tier black grays, akin to kind of like a Leopold. So think Leopold, but just with one notch down in speed. So she would be like the 89 speed version of a Leopold. I would re-roll a Cecilia But if you get one landed on a reroll, she could be worth hanging on to for 89 speed competition. There are a lot of rare 89 speeds that will beat her. So if it's not a common restricted, the odds of a Cecilia winning over the rares that we'll see in the 89 grade are pretty low. So I wouldn't rely on her winning often unless you're doing commons or OG coats only, and then she could perform. I would not train a Cecilia.
Okay. I believe that's Adelaide.
Adelaide. Adelaide is one of those low mid tier 87 speeders. She is a reroll burn credit. No train.
Okay. Thor.
Thor. Now, Thor, in my opinion, while is not worth keeping on the initial pull, he is worth keeping on a reroll. He's not going to win consistently at G4, but if you learn him, he can win G4 tournaments. Like there have been Thors win like G4 dailies. So he's not an irrelevant hound. Now you have to learn him because that's going to be the deciding factor, and relying on, you know, racing probably unlearned hounds to really have that edge.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one of those like mid upper tier. So he's like right on the cusp of being a great G4 runner. He's just a consistently good to mediocre good runner on the track. So he's worth not burning, but I would not keep him on an initial pull.
When you say worth keeping,
not,
would that be like restricted to like common or common OGs or even
just G4? Like he can hang in G4 running.
Oh, okay. Alrighty.
Like if so, here's my theory. But anybody that's getting into Muzzle Run, plan for tournaments that don't cost you to enter anything. And if you have multiple entries that qualify, enter them. If it's a G4 monthly that all your G4s qualified for, enter them all. Learn all the G4s that have the potential of winning, and if Thor's one that has the potential of winning a monthly G4, if there's a G4 monthly that's an XP entry, enter every Thor you have, because there's a chance a Thor could win. If you pull a G4 that's capable of winning a G4 monthly, there's no reason not to have another lotto ticket for catching the perfect roll of races to get to a finals and win the whole thing, because a Thor could have his day, and if you don't enter your Thor, it's not going to be your Thor that has that day. So if you're trying to do this to maximize profits, every single G4 runner you have, if you have the XP to enter it in the monthly, it should be in the monthly, because there's no limit to the number that a one kennel could enter. If you could enter 10,000 Thors, then the odds are Thor's going to win every month. If there's 10,000 Thors in the race, you know. But if you're burning those Thors, you're burning a potential winning lotto ticket for every one of those G4 monthlies. And that's why he makes the cut of not burning. Now, I'd re-roll him and try to hunt for something better and more consistently and reliable than a Thor. But on a re-roll, I would keep a Thor untrained because it's still a scratch-off potential winner in a big race.
And not worth training once it reaches that limit, right, of earning.
No, not worth training.
Not worth training. Okay. Cassandra.
I love a Cassandra. Cassandra is the black gray version of your Alfred and your Hollie. So she's what I would I don't quite lump her up there in the number 3 because she's not going to win as often as an Alberta. But she might be where I'd put number 4. I might put her at 4.
Okay. And
so don't train.
Yeah,
don't train her. Race her in G4s. And I'd I have kept Cassandra's on the initial pool because she's, in my opinion, a top 4 G4 runner in the OG variety. Top 10 G4 runner across all coats. And any top 10 in their graded class has a shot at winning whatever race you put them in. So that mathematically just makes sense to me. The odds of pulling a rare that's in that top 10 category, if I rerolled it, are really, really low, which means I'm just going to reroll something that has a chance of actually making money into a burn token. So Cassandra makes the cut for me personally as a keeper, but other people would reroll them because they'd want something stronger. But being where she falls in the hierarchy of G4 quality runners, I would personally keep one. And if you do cap out, you can train a Cassandra too, and you could get 100 speed, 100 endurance. Or you could even roll, 100 speed, put another roll into acceleration and get to 99 endurance. But there are options to train a Cass when you cap her out, just like there's options to train an Alfred. Will they compete? Probably not. Can they? Sure.
Yeah, she was my first one to win. My first time winning a Old Boys Cup because I have a Cassandra final breeder. So,
nice.
Yeah, I like that. Lancelot.
Lancelot is worth keeping only as a best of the worst. He's, in my opinion, the best of the worst runner. I think he runs consistently worse than Amelia.
Yeah.
So it's just something about the way the breed runs on the track. I don't know why, but Amelia will have some races where she'll just take off like a banshee and win the whole thing, which in the structure of a lot of the worst of the worst or best of the worst races, you actually will lose points for winning a race, which puts you in such a deficit that you don't ever make the finals if you win, one race. So, Lancelot for me, I have a Lancelot named Lance a Little, and he won a couple $100 worth of Matic.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I actually trained him for a trained best of the worst tournament and won like 500 Matic or something from that one, or 200 Matic. I won a lot with him. He actually was one of the best trained best of the worst because I got like 3 1s and 2 2s or something like that when I trained him.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, maybe I don't think I have a Lancelot, so I'll probably keep the next one I get.
He's definitely worth keeping as a worst of the worst, especially if you get him on one of your auto breeders and he's from a lower tier auto breeder common. Like if you can get a Lancelot from a Lancelot, get you a purebred, or get you an Amelia from a Lancelot, that would be a good pull as well. Or a Lancelot from Amelia. That, in my opinion, is the recipe. That's why I've for people that collect their auto breeders, I always suggest getting an Amelia auto breeder if you like best of the worst running, because every single month she's the lowest statted breeder, which means she's going to be giving the lowest racing bonuses to her babies. But a purebred Amelia might be too strong, and that's why I would classify a Lancelot from an Amelia, because now it's not purebred. So there's no purebred bonuses. It's the lowest blue-gray coat possible, which is the second lowest statistically next to Amelia, because it's 2 points higher in consistency. That's the only difference between the two. So getting a Lancelot from an Amelia would, in my opinion, be better than getting an Amelia from a Lancelot. And therefore, the Lancelot from Amelia should theoretically be the statistically best of the worst racer available.
Hopefully I don't butcher this name. Relena?
Raylene. That's old Raylene.
Raylene.
So Miss Raylene, she's a low tier 89 speeder. She's got the low endurance, the 87 endo, and the mid tier 93 acceleration. Because of that, she's a reroll burn credit.
Okay. Beatrice.
Beatrice, a little bit better. She's got the 95 acceleration, so she's a bit of an upgrade over a Raylene, but also has the 87 endurance. And she's got the lower consistency, whereas Raylene has 96, Beatrice has 92. So it's kind of almost a sacrifice of acceleration versus consistency. So same category, burn token, because you're not going to really perform against the other 89s with such low endurance, even with the high acceleration, because you're also suffering that low consistency.
Berna, right? Berna?
Berna. Yep, aptly named because a Berna is just a Berna token. Reroll, burn it, no training. Acceleration's mid-tier, endurance is lowest possible, and because of the 92 speed, she's locked to G4. No train. Reroll,
Okay.
burn it.
Last
Burn
one for
the
the commons. Ernest.
Mr. Ernest, a decent best of the worst. He is the fawn version of Lancelot and Amelia. So he has higher consistency, but that's the only stat, and it's the least impactful. So an Ernest can absolutely lose at races enough to be a best of the worst contender. So he's a good enough loser to keep on a reroll
Yeah.
for best of the worst, but he's not going to lose enough to make a lot.
Oh, actually, I think I have an Ernest. Huh. Let's see. Okay, so now we're jumping into the rares. All right, here we go. Alexander.
Alexander. Alrighty. So what we have is this is a mid-tier rare. If you get him on the first pull, if you don't have a lot of rares, you can keep him and you can train him. And he could be a decently trained dog. It's a riskier train because you have to 3-2-3 the endurance to get that hundo. But that would leave you with one more roll after your speed and endurance are both at 100. So you could account for that consistency or that acceleration and have a good trained dog. Is he going to be a top end trained dog? No. Has an Alexander won big races? Absolutely. So it's one of those ones where I personally keep anything that can make me money because you still have a training process you have to go through.
Mm-hmm,
And even on the best dog you pull, you could butcher the training and now all you got is a virtual paperweight. And in virtual world, ain't nothing need to be held down, so it's useless. So it literally like it's another chance at potentially training a hound good enough to win some money. I personally would keep an Alexander. A lot of other folks would risk it for the biscuit and re-roll it if they're starting to get to the point where they're just hunting for the highest end possible. I wouldn't classify him at the top end of competition when it comes to rares, but he's in the upper tier of the middle class. He's like upper management of a retail store.
and something I noticed on some of these maiden, I think they're maiden on, what is it, maiden G4s, I think. So it's not restricted to common or rares or anything. It's just, I think it's just maiden G4s or something like that.
So if it's made in G4, it'd be restricted to commons because of the G4 part.
Okay, well, I forget what it's called. Maiden something where
they'll have untrained maidens, then they'll have trained maidens.
So untrained maidens, and all the time I see, every time I check, their majority are always rares or very rares or extremely rares, hardly ever commons. So would this be one of the ones that you would enter into that, or is it not really worth entering?
I would not put up the entry fee for an untrained Alexander. Okay. He's one that you would want to learn untrained through racing free races to learn him, get him configured, and then train him and hope you get good training. Now, once you train him, if you get the 3 into speed, the 3-2-3 in endurance, and 1, 2, or 3 on your last roll into acceleration or consistency, now you're at 100 speed, 100 endo, and 89, 90, or 91 acceleration, 92 consistency. That's a pretty relevant hound.
Mm-hmm.
or you could go the 95 consistency way, but I would personally probably put it into acceleration and make him a bit more speedy out of the gate. But yeah, like if you get the hundo, now you've became a lot more relevant in the open field competition of racing in G3 and above.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily put up the race fees of putting him in untrained rare racing. But once you've learned him, if you get good training, absolutely try to win some money with him.
Okay. Jane.
Jane is one of those ones where I personally re-roll on the initial pull. And that's just because the endurance is so low.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of those ones, the best you could really do is 100 speed and leaving you 4 rolls. The best you can hope for is 99 endurance. So 195, 99, 94 is the best possible Jane. And while that's pretty good, it's very rare that you're going to roll perfect 15 or, well, in that case, it'd be, 15 out of 15. You'd have to roll 15 out of 15. The number of hounds I've trained versus the number of 15 out of 15s, I think I've gotten 2 15 out of 15 training sessions out of several hundred training sessions. So the odds of hitting it are low. I wouldn't keep her on the initial pull. On a reroll, I would probably give it a shot and see if I could get the training or not.
Okay, and then maiden untrained.
I would not put her in the untrained maiden because of the 87 endurance.
Okay. All right, Belle.
Belle is a quality pull, in my opinion. She is an absolute keeper on the initial pull. She has low acceleration and low endurance, but that's okay. She has the high consistency, which means when you do the same training we talked about doing earlier with Alexander, or earlier with Jane, when you invest these things, you could 3-2-3 the endurance, put a 3 into speed, and now you have 100 speed, 100 endo, and you still have another 3 points you can put somewhere. You could try to go for 100, 88, 199, or you can try to go 100, 91, 100, 96. And either way you go, it's going to depend on how your hound leans a little bit better in the sprints or a little bit better in just consistency across the board. But you train your hound either way, you're going to have a very quality, high-end, rare racer. So a Belle is a keeper in my opinion because, like I said, you still have to get through the gambit of training any of these hounds. And every chance you have of that perfect training session is every chance you have at a quality G1 racer. Belle can make it to G1.
Okay. Fedor.
Fedor, same thing. I would keep a Fedor on the initial pull unless you were just hunting some god tier. The beauty of a Fedor is you can 3-2-3 that speed. It leaves you 2 more rolls, which means you can go for the hundo endurance if you want, and then you would go, you'd have to do a 1 and a 3 in order to hundo the endurance. But if you put all your rolls into speed and endurance, you'd have 195, 192. And that is a quality G1 level racer. Hard to do, but possible. So because it's possible, Fedor is a keeper for me.
Okay. Dylan.
Dylan. Now here's one of the examples of why 89 speed competitions are so difficult and less restricted to commons. He has 89 speed, which means if it's just an 89 speed restricted race, you're going to see Dylan's in there and you're going to see David's in there. And Dylan's have 95 acceleration, 96 endurance, which is the highest you could have in both of those categories. And it has the second highest consistency. So this is like the 89 speed version of a Steven. And because the only thing difference between a Steven and a Dylan is the 2 points of speed, but because all of the other subgrades are so high, acceleration, endurance, and consistency are so high, you couldn't get him to 89 speed. If you add those 2 extra points in speed, he becomes a rare. He was too good to be a common. So once you upgrade Steven by 2, and that's also a good way of looking at any of these dogs and how I analyze a lot of my analysis is how close were any of these dogs to the next tier of racing? How close was it to becoming a rare? Like Alberta is actually higher overall than some of the lower end rares. She has a higher overall stat line. So when you look at like how close a dog was to being too good to be a common, and when you see something like the Dylan here as a rare because it's 2 stat points higher in speed than a Steven, that shows you that Steven's also quality. But yeah, Dylan is a high end. He's the second highest 89 speeder in the OG codes, just below the David. So I personally would keep a Dylan on a reroll. I wouldn't necessarily keep him on the initial pool because there are better rares to shoot for. And there's better commons to shoot for. If you're shooting to race in G4s, you're going to do better than a Dylan because a Dylan's just going to be the second best OG 89 speeder. And the number of 89 speed restricted races is pretty limited. So because of that, like there are enough better options, I would risk the reroll. But if I landed him on a reroll, I'd probably keep him untrained and race him in 89 speed restricted races.
Okay. Jason.
He's another similar one of those ones where it's like borderline. He's a rare, but it's an issue of you're not going to be able to train a Jason enough to do something because to get that 100 speed, that leaves you 4 more rolls. 4 more rolls only gets you to 99 endurance. So you're kind of similar to the Jane situation, only Jane had a lot more acceleration than Jason. So it's one of those things where you could try to invest the training credits to try to 199 a hound, but you have to get perfect training, and the end result is still just a mediocre hound. I personally would reroll a Jason. If I landed on him, I would hang on to him and try to make something out of him, but odds are he's not going to be a big performer.
And this wouldn't be, and the previous ones too, like Jane, Belle, Fedor, Dylan, Jason, or not Dylan, but Jason now. Would you do the maiden untrained?
No, I would on the Belle and the Fedor.
Belle and Fedor, okay. So yes on her, and yes on Fedor. Okay, not Jason. All right.
Not Jason.
Arthur.
He's one of those lower end endurance ones, similar to the other ones, but he's also got the low acceleration. I personally reroll an Arthur because the same thing, best you're going to hope for is the 199, but you could hit the 199 with that 95 acceleration and still have something. So if you don't have a lot of trained racers, you could try to make something out of them. I've just never had any luck with an Arthur, so I've never hung on to one. Like I've tried to train 2 and I got a bunch of 1s when I got to the endurance and it just ended up garbage.
So maybe on the training or no?
If you got the training credits and you want to attempt it and you did a perfect train of 3 to speed and then 4 3s in endurance, you'd have a quality racer. You'd have to get a 15 out of 15, but you'd be at 100 speed, 95 acceleration, 100 endurance, 92 consistency, and you'd have a decent runner on your hands. But it would take a perfect training session.
Yeah, all 3s. I think I've ever had like once or twice having all 3s. Jesus. Okay. What about maiden untrained?
I wouldn't.
No. Okay. Next one here, Eleanor.
Eleanor, no, same situation. She is only thing Eleanor would be good for is like best of the worst rares. She's just lowest endurance and lowest acceleration possible, mid-tier consistency. It's just not worth the sacrifice to have high speed. She's not going to compete in an untrained field, and she has too many stats that you'd have to invest in to get up. Even if you got her to 99 endurance, her low acceleration is just going to make her not really that competitive.
Jesus, I just realized her 88 and 87. Holy crap. Oh, man. Okay. David,
definitely worth keeping on the initial pull just because of the trainability. He's one of those ones where one, you can train him in, if you did train him well, which if you did, you're 4 into acceleration and then you're 3 into endurance, you would have a 195, 99, 96, which is a really good trained dog. But before that point, in 89 speeders, he's the best OG. He's got 89 speed, so an 89 speed restricted untrained field, he would have 95 acceleration, 96 endo, 96 consistency, which makes him like the George of 89 speed running.
Oh wow.
So he's definitely worth hanging on to on an initial pull because he is trainable and he is the goat of OG 89 speed running.
Okay. Let's see.
And you could even put David in an untrained maiden because all of his subgrades are so high that if you had distance-based runs, he could actually perform. He could actually perform.
Oh, keeping him untrained? Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could even potentially win an untrained maiden with a David if the races fell to more distance.
Oh, wow. Well, if I get one, I'll definitely put him in that. Okay. All right, Albert.
Albert, I like Albert. He's got a 323 speed. And then you got to invest the rest into endurance if you want to go for the hundo, or you can go for the 99 and have a little wiggle room. But I like Alberts. I keep Alberts because they're trainable to a hundo. Anything trainable to a hundo that has higher than 88 acceleration, in my opinion, is a keeper. Or if it'll have high consistency at the end, or if it's an easy train. But yeah, Albert's one of those ones where I personally would keep them. Some people would re-roll them because they don't like the 323 the speed. I have had more luck in 323ing speed than I have single 3-point speed rolls.
Okay. So you said you would train him and maiden untrained, yes?
No on the maiden untrained.
Oh.
I don't know if I'd risk it on an Albert.
Okay.
They could win one. Odds are they're not going to. They've won them a few times here and there, but it's not very common for an Albert to win.
Okay. Rose.
Absolutely a keeper. Some folks would re-roll her, but those are people that are hunting ERs and VRs only. But Rose is one of the top tier rare racers out there. The second highest rare OG, just under the Brooks, is the Rose. So Brooks is the highest, and then Rose is the blue-gray version of a Brooks. So absolutely worth keeping, absolutely worth entering in an untrained maiden, and then absolutely worth training and hoping for a G1 quality racer.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. Gordon.
Gordon is another keeper on the initial pull. Absolutely worth it. 97 speed, 93 acceleration, 92 on the endurance, and 96 on consistency. You can 3-2-3 that endo and then put that 3 points into speed, and you got your hundo, giving you one more point to try to either get to 96 acceleration or 99 consistency. Gordon's absolute monster on the track, and you could absolutely get to G1 and win some G1 racing with Gordon. So keep him on the first pull. Absolutely enter him in the untrained maiden, and you want to go 3 to speed, 3-2-3 in endurance, and then it's really up to you on the last point if you want to try to go for the 96 acceleration to balance it out to 196, or consistency and go for the 193, 199.
Oh, and then I don't know if you answered. Did you say maiden untrained? Yes.
Yep, absolutely. Enter Gordon in the untrained maiden.
Perfect. Okay. Brian,
he's another keeper for me. He's a little bit harder to train, but he's basically the black gray coat version of a Gordon. So the only difference between him and Gordon is he has 4 points less in consistency because of that black gray coat versus the fawn coat. But 100% keep him. Untrained maiden on a Brian. Similar training, 3-2-3 to endurance, 3 into speed, leaving you 3 extra points. You could either dump that into acceleration, go for the 96 acceleration, or go for 95 on consistency. But absolutely, a Brian can make it to and win in G1 racing.
Okay. Leonard.
Leonard, an absolute monster and keeper. This is basically the blue-gray version of Gordon and Brian. So he's the one in the middle, 2 points higher in consistency than a Brian, and 2 points lower in consistency than a Gordon. Absolutely worth keeping. Absolutely worth entering in Untrained Maiden. And I believe one of the first like G1, like big winners was a Leonard. It was a trained Leonard. So absolutely worth training and could win you some G1 big bucks.
Okay. All right. Epiphany, right? Yeah, Epiphany.
Epiphany, she's one of those decent 89 speeders, not quite as good as David. She's 2 points in acceleration lower than David, which means she's tied with the blue-gray 89. I forget who it was. Just with lower acceleration and higher Dylan. It was Dylan. She's 2 points lower in acceleration than Dylan, but 2 points higher in consistency than Dylan, which means she's the same overall, but she's not quite the same performer on the track. So I would put her under Dylan in the rankings. But she's decent. I wouldn't keep her necessarily on an initial pull, but on a reroll, I would hang on to her for 89 speed restricted racing. I would not put her in the maiden, and I would not train her.
Restricted racing. Okay. No. Okay. Brittany.
Brittany is the black-gray version of your Dylan and your David. So the highest tier of 89 speed of her coat. So as far as black grays go, she's the best 89 speed black gray coat of the lot. Some people have their preferences of black gray versus blue gray versus fawn, but I would hang on to Brittany's personally. I would not train them. You could try to put them in the untrained maidens, similar to the Dylan and the David, but odds of them winning aren't high, but it's possible. But I would hang on to her on a re-roll. I don't think I would keep her on the initial roll, kind of like Dylan. David would about to be the only one I would keep definitively on the initial, but I would definitely keep her on a re-roll instead of burning her because there's a chance that she could win in 89s. I don't think I would train her. I would just keep her for 89 limited performance.
Okay. Corey,
similar vein. He or she black gray or the blue gray coat, one downgrade from Dylan. So whereas Dylan had 95 acceleration, Corey has the 80 or the 93. So 2 points lower in acceleration, and that's really the only difference between the two. I wouldn't keep a Corey on the initial pull, but I would keep a Corey on the reroll because a Corey could compete in 89 speed running untrained.
Oh, you said, sorry, did you say train or no train for that one?
No train. No train. I'd leave it and try to win in 89 speeds with it.
And you said possibly for the maiden untrained?
No, not on a Corey.
Okay. Okay. Ursula.
Now, Ursula's one that's a bit rough because the best you can hope for is that 99 endo. But if you hit it, this is like the best case version of a 199 that you could train of the OG coats because she has 95 acceleration, 96 consistency. So if you were going to risk it on a training sesh and go for the 15 out of 15 on something low end that needed it, she would be a good option for that because her end result would be 100, 95, 99, 96. which is G1 caliber, but really hard to hit. So I wouldn't necessarily keep an Ursula on the initial pull.
Okay.
But on a reroll, I would probably risk the training.
And then maiden untrained.
I would not do the untrained maiden with an Ursula.
Okay. Porter.
Absolute keeper on the first pull. Absolute untrained maiden. And then train him up. 3-2-3 on the endo, 3 on the speed, which leaves you at 3 points to either go for the 98 acceleration or the 95 consistency. Absolute dominant monster, and Porters can get to G1, have won it. So absolute monster on the track.
Okay. Trinity.
Trinity is the blue-gray version of Porter. So 2 points higher in consistency, and all other stats are the same. What I would consider a top 2 OG rare racer. Porter being a top 3, but Trinity I would put over a Porter. It's back and forth, but I would place Trinity just above Porter and Brooks just above Trinity. Trinity is an absolute keeper on the first pull. Untrained maiden all day, every day. Trinities can make you thousands of dollars if you train them right. They can get to G1, win G1. They can win big sit and goes. They could beat Spotties. They could beat Brendels. Like, they are an absolute keeper.
And of course, maiden untrained, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Liberty.
Liberty's another one that I actually really, really like. She's a keeper on the first pull for me. The only negative sides are the acceleration and the speed with that 96 endurance. This is like the upgraded version of an Alfred. This is an Alfred with slightly higher acceleration. So if you would keep an Alfred on the first pull, absolutely you would keep a Liberty on the first pull. 3-2-3 to speed. And you can either 1-3 endurance to go for 193, 196, which is hyper relevant. Or you can go 100, 93, 99, 99, 196, 99, 96. So you have options on how to roll a Liberty and be a very relevant G1 caliber racer. I would 100% enter a Liberty in an untrained maiden and keep them on the initial pull.
Okay. Alrighty.
Nigel, he's one of those so-so 89ers. He's doesn't have the 95 acceleration, so he's that one tier down on the 89s for the black gray coats. I personally don't keep Nigels on the first pull, even though they're a rare. I'll risk the reroll just because where they stand, not only in the overall rare hierarchy, but even in the 89 speed restricted rare hierarchy. It's just worth it trying to get something better that you're actually going to have a better shot of winning money with. So I would personally recommend on the Nigels, reroll and burn credit. Well, it's hard to say burn credit because, you could try to risk a training session to see what you could do. But it's going to be one of those 193, 99, 92s is the best case, which at that point, I think that your training credits would probably be better invested elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, it's probably just a burner. Or you could try to sell it to a new player that just wants to rare, find a sucker or something.
Yeah. Senna,
she's one of those borderlines for a lot of people. I personally like Senna's. I've won a lot of money with Senna's. She's that one acceleration tick down, but she has the 96 endurance and the 94 consistency. So she can actually do some work on the track on like a 92 speed rares or 92 speed it's not a G4, like they allow rares and VRs, etc. Like anything 92 speed that's open grade, she could actually do really well in. And you can train a Senna. You can 3-2-3 the speed and get that hundo, and then put a 3 into endurance to hit 99. And now you got one more point to wherever you want, or you can go for the hundo and be at 193, 194 and have a relevant racing high end hound. So Senna's a keeper in my opinion. She is like right on my borderline of keep worthy in the rare category, where it's like just the ones I've said to re-roll are the ones I consider just below a Senna on the chain of what they're capable of doing.
And maiden untrained?
You can attempt it. The odds of winning are pretty low, but it's not what I would consider an impossible win. I think a Senna in the right circumstances could actually make it happen.
Okay. Oh, Sienna.
Sienna is a different story. While she has the higher speed, she's that 87 endurance situation, which means we're sitting at another maximum potential 199er. But 193, 99, 96 isn't terrible. So it's one of those ones where I would re-roll a Sienna on the initial pull. But on a reroll, I would probably risk maybe she'd be low on my list to risk training. I would probably hang on to her for a couple of months thinking that I would train her eventually. And then when I got dire and needed a training credit, just send her off to the gods.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not even going to try to attempt to name this one. What is this?
This would be Araya. And Araya is a so decent, best of the worst rare. So if there is the rare flag, meaning required to be a rare or higher hound as a best of the worst, then Araya would make a good option. That's about the only practical thing I could see keeping an Araya for, would be for a best of the worst situation.
Okay. Fitzroy.
I like Fitzroy. He's very trainable. You're going to have the lower acceleration, but I mean, there's even VRs with 88 acceleration, so you can't really just discredit that. With a 3 into speed, you could 3-2-3 endurance, leaving you 3 more training credits or 3 more training points that you could either go into acceleration to try to hit 91, or you can go into consistency and try to hit 97. Either way, you're going to have a 100 decent running hound that's capable of getting to and racing in G1s. I personally, Fitzroy's like right there kind of with a Senna on like that keep line, like cusping that line of keep. Fitzroy's like right there on that Senna side of keep. They're buddies. They're both hanging out on the line. Like if either of them slip up and start underperforming, they're both about to get sent off to the glue factory. You know what I mean? Like right there straddling the border. They like to play dangerous.
And so since Senna was a maybe on the maiden untrained, I'm assuming Fitzroy's maybe?
Same thing. Yeah, it's a maybe. Okay. It's a borderline. It's not impossible. It's just not highly likely, but it's not impossible.
Okay. Clark.
Bingo, bango. Clark's a winner chicken dinner. If you land yourself a Clark, he's absolutely a banger. He's great for the untrained. He's absolutely great if they happen to do a 92 speed untrained, because those don't restrict it. It's not like a G4. It's just a 92 speed untrained, which allows rares and aboves. But there's no VRs that are 92 speed. So the highest grade that's 92 speed is rare. And he happens to be like one of the highest end outside of, a few Spotties and Brendels. Like he's the guy when it comes to 92 speed. So Clark is an absolute keeper. And then when you get tired of racing him in 92 speed, you don't got to stay there, because you could quickly just 3-2-3 speed and either go for the 99 endurance, leaving you one additional roll, or you can go 1-3 and have 195, 196, which is a bangerific roll for any G1 runner. So Clark's an absolute keeper on the first grab.
Okay. Next up, Darcy.
Darcy is one of those ones that I personally re-roll and would not really probably invest into training. She's one of those borderliners, just like the others, where you'd at best be hoping for 193, 99, 92. And that's just one of those ones where it's just too risky. So I would re-roll a Darcy on the initial one. And I do probably the same thing I'd said I'd done with Sienna, is sit on it for a long while, intending to eventually train it to see if I got lucky, and then never have enough training credits or the time to get around to doing it, and eventually just burn it.
Okay. Kobe.
Similar situation as the last one. Same identical thing, only it's blue-gray. You have the 87 Indo, 93, so the best you're hoping for right now is 100, 93, 99, 94, which is just I think Kobe is like just on the opposite side of the cut line for me, where it's like, unless I'm desperate for an untrained rare to get into some small field race that isn't going to have a bunch of VRs and stuff in it, then maybe I'll keep a Kobe just for that. But odds are I'm re-rolling a Kobe on the initial pool, because you just can't get it trained high enough to be relevant unless you get the perfect training, which rarely ever happens. So it's a wasted keep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the last one's for the rares. Brooks.
This is the Big Daddy Papa. So of the 97 speed OG rares, this is the upgraded version of Trinity, because he's 2 consistency points higher than Trinity and all other stats are the same. Absolutely banger keeper. He is the highest overall rare OG in the game. He's a 390 overall, which is actually higher than one of the OG VRs and ties the second OG VR. So he's the same overall as Michael, and a higher overall than Aurora. Aurora is a 378, and he is a 388. Sorry, she's a 388, and he's a 390. So, or am I thinking of what he can train? I don't remember what it is. My maths are off right now. Let me 7. I'm thinking of train numbers. 380. 380? 380. So he's a 380 and she's a 378. I was right on her number the first time. So Aurora's a 378. Brooks and Michael are a 380 overall. So he's tied with with a VR and higher than one of the VRs. Absolutely keeper, absolute untrained maiden. 3 into speed, 323 Indo, leaving you 1 more point to put on either acceleration or consistency to have either 98 or 99, potentially. Monster runner, absolutely capable of making a fortune in G1 with the right training. Keep your Brookses.
Alrighty, now we're going on to very rares. Now I know once we get to some of them, well, actually no, wait, these we can all breed. I think it's the extremely rares that you can't breed, right? Into. Like, I know you can't get a George from a breed, or
yeah, you can.
You can? Oh
yeah.
Okay, we'll get there when we get there. All right. All right, next one, Morrison.
So yeah, basically everything from here up is a keep on the first pull. All very rares you get, don't re-roll. The odds of rolling a very rare are better, slim to none. And even an untrained very rare is something that you'd be able to sell on the market, because if you didn't want to take the gamble on potentially ruining it with training, somebody else would spend more than your pull price on an untrained VR, an unnamed untrained VR. You could make money just selling it. So don't re-roll it. You can make more and then buy 2 or 3 breeds with what you'd be able to sell it for at the minimum side if you're just trying to sell it for cheap. But any one of these is trainable and raceable, and able to get to G1. Morrison, he's one of those ones, he's low on the acceleration side and the consistency side because he's the black gray coat. But, it doesn't mean he's irrelevant, because, a 3 into speed and then 1 3 into endurance You still got 6 more points to put somewhere. So you can go
Mhm.
for 188, 98 is what you could go for. Or you could put those 6 points into acceleration and go 195, right? Wait, did I math that right? No, 194, right? 6 points. And then, yeah, 194, 192. And that'd be super relevant. So, yeah, keep any of these VRs 100%, whether you want to raise them or flip them, because you'll make some money somewhere along the line. 100% put them in the Untrained Maiden and try to win that, and then train them and learn them. And you can, if you get good training, you're gonna have a cash cow.
Michael.
Michael, my favorite racer, because of the namesake. It just so happens, I love the name, and he happens to have great stats and was my top racer. I had a purebred Michael that got trained up to a 392, and I got him up to G1. Didn't win anything at the G1 level, but I got him to G1, and I won a couple hundred matting with him along the way because he's just a great racer. Same overall as Brooks, like we said earlier, 380 overall. You can either go for the plus 15 balanced train, or you can go for the trip hundo. So you can go for 100 speed, 93 acceleration, 100 endurance, 100 consistency, or you can go 100, 100, 99, 97. I believe. No, wait, no, it's 199, 99, because you got to go 2 into acceleration. So 199, then 1 into endurance, and then, yeah, 199, 99, 97 is the balanced breed. Or you could go for the trip hundo.
Yeah.
Which would be consistency, endurance, and speed for the trip hundo with 93 acceleration. But yeah, absolute keeper, absolute monster, Untrained Maiden, train him up, win a bunch of money.
Regis.
Regis, once again, a keeper. He's the lowest acceleration level of the fawns. But yeah, he's quality. Keep him, train him up. Untrained Maiden, and then you train him up, 100 speed, and then 1-3 into endo. Go for the hundo endurance. Leaves you 2 more rolls. You can put them into acceleration, get that +6, go for the 94, get that 194, 196. That's a monster right there. Or you could go for the trip hundo on this one as well with the 88 AC.
Okay. Andrew.
Absolute keeper, another monster. 3 in speed, 1-3 into endo. Get that hundo knocked out. If you do manage to get the 3, I would personally recommend keep it. So I'd start with the 3 in speed. And if you have a reroller or know somebody with one that's doing the training for you, when you go to endurance, if you land a 3 on the first shot, I wouldn't re-roll it hoping for the 1 to try to hunt for the hundo. I'd keep the 99 and then go for the +15, because then you're going to have 3 more rolls to put elsewhere.
Yeah.
So after you get those, you could try to either go acceleration or consistency, whichever way you wanted to go, and have 3 more rolls to go with the 99 endo and 100 in speed. You put those 3 into consistency and get a 3-2-3, and now you've got 100, 93, 99, 100. Or you could do 2 3s into consistency and 1 into acceleration, and now you've got 196, 99, 98. And that's going to be a freaking monster. That would be an absolute monster, Andrew. Untrained 100%, train it up, slap it in the untrained, or slap it in the Untrained Maiden, and then after that, train it up, try to win a bunch of money and get to G1s.
Okay. One of my personal favorites, Amira.
Amira, she is the highest overall OG VR. Just under the George. The only difference between her and a George is 2 points of acceleration, what some have considered the most negligible stat outside of sprints, because that's just your gate time or your gate speed. But good accelerate or good speed, endurance, and consistency. And the second tier in acceleration make Amira the top statted OG VR in the game. Definitely a keeper on the first pull, definite untrained maiden, and then train it up and hunt for G1s because she's got the chops to get there.
Yeah, this last month, as you can see, I got one Amira. This last month or ending of last month. Wait, what month are we on? I'm sorry. August. So yeah, around the ending of July, I pulled my first Amira. I was so
Nice.
excited on that. All right.
You trained her yet?
No, not yet. Oh man, I'm worried about that. Yeah. All right. Aurora.
Aurora is just over the Morrison, so 2 points higher in consistency than a Morrison. Got that lower acceleration, like the Morrison and the oh gosh, Regis, like the Regis. So usable and trainable, but a lot of folks go for the Trip Hundo Aurora, and I've seen a couple people land it, the 188, 100, 100.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's the end of the very rares, and now we have the last three greyhounds. So, Hickman.
Hickman, definitely a keeper, named after the creator, monster on the tracks, one of the highest earning dogs in Muzzle Run history over the course of his racing year. Almost immediately made it to G1, made a fortune in G1 races and big races, and then got relegated from G1, is Van Dam. We actually pulled him on my stream. It was in the very first month I got into Muzzle Run, and pulled him for
Van.
why am I spacing? Van Dam was
what's his name?
Stable Bros.
Is it really?
I think.
Oh, the Jean Baptiste, right?
Jean Baptiste, yeah.
Yeah.
But he went by like I think it was or something Bros.
Yeah, something like that. Might be Stable Bros.
I don't think it's Stable Bros. It's something Bros. I can't remember what his kennel name is.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But yeah, he pulled it on the live on stream. I pulled it live. He was buying breeds from the Hickman. He's a purebred Hickman. So he's a Hickman from a Hickman breeder.
Oh wow, really?
And
Jesus.
he got 100 speed, and I think he got 100 endurance. But he got damn near perfect training and won a fortune. So Hickman is absolutely worth keeping.
Jesus, man. Okay, now we got George.
George, he was the top tier for a long time. Everybody loves George because he's a purebred potential. So if you pull, like a lot of people like pulling from the George when they can. Now that Butterman has one, I'm sure that they go to him instead of Jono's George. But Jono's George was up at the breeder's den for a long time. And everybody loved George because they could hunt for the purebred George. Like those were the two big hits, was a purebred George and a purebred Hickman. Those were what you wanted to get. Yeah, he was the king for a long time until Rockette came along and dethroned him, and then I think St. Wienfort might have even topped them all. But yeah, George is the OG top dog. The top breeder is George. There's only two in existence. and he's capable of hitting, I think 398 is his top end that he could get to.
I should have taken advantage before the mint price went up. I should have bought a crap load of of George breeds just so I could like resell them or open them myself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Butterman upcharges on breed costs or how much he does, but I don't think he's too expensive. You might hit him up.
Oh no,
TJ?
the mint prices are up. They're a $10.
Oh, the
remember?
mint prices are up. Got you.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Okay. And the last one, and I don't know if you have any knowledge really of him, and I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but I'll let you
St.
give it a try.
Guinefort. So St. Guinefort isn't a racer you can actually pull. Yeah. He's a limited edition, extremely rare. I believe there was like 5 of him or something like that. And he was a reward for one of the monthly tournaments a while back. But yeah, he's the only possible 400 racer in the game. And you would only need 4 rolls to get there. But because of the combinations of rolls needed on Rocket and on George, the highest that George can get is a 398. The highest Rocket can get is a 399. Even though she's a 385, which theoretically 385 plus 15 equals 400, because the way you have to roll her stats, there's one of her stats that requires 2 rolls, and it requires you to sacrifice 2 points. Or the opposite is to sacrifice 1 point on a different roll. And so basically she's either 398 or a 399. You can either roll her the same as George, or you can roll her as a 399. And you can't roll her as a 400. But St. Guinefort came along as a limited reward, and it was basically 5 chances ever for anyone to hit 400. And if I haven't actually gone back and looked to see if they were all, well, honestly, even distributed, let alone trained. So I don't know if they were all trained yet.
They were distributed, and all of them, everyone had trained them, and they all rugged. All of them rugged.
So I figured that'd probably be what would happen, because if those are the only shots of it happening, that's why people were up in arms and worried about, like how it was not fair or whatever. But all I could think of was how many training sessions I've done and how many were successful versus how many rugged. And I was like, if there's only 5 ever, the odds of even one of them rolling well are next to nil.
Yeah.
So, honestly, it's really not that big of a deal if 5 of them get sent out, because it's going to be this big yay moment for those folks until they train them, and then it's just going to be something sitting in their kennel.
I wouldn't train it for a long time, that's for sure. Jesus. But I did get confirmation they all rugged, and they all were distributed, and they all rugged. And then my first time ever seeing one was going against my my Spartak Vladimir Lenin on the 98 run, and that was the first time I ever saw one actually placed in a race. So very cool to see. Since I think you said there's only 5, right?
I think there's only 5.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll ever do them again. But anyways, like I said, it was amazing at least to see it once, because that's such a rare dog. But
yeah, it really is.
Okay, well, that was the last of the Greyhounds. Just before we end up closing it out, is there anything else you want to say?
I mean, best of luck to anybody getting into it. Stick with it. Learn as much as you can. Hopefully this helps know which ones to keep, lean into, get rid of. There's a lot of ups and downs, highs and lows, but if you stick with it, it can be a lot of fun. You can make a lot of money. Enjoy it, and happy muzzling.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for being here today, Vox, and that concludes our session. For those that end up watching, please make sure to follow, leave a comment, and turn on your notifications for the next video. All right, thank you.